The year is 480 before Christ. Persia is coming not with a raiding party, not with a small fighting force, with the entire weight of empire itself. King Xerxes has spent 4 years putting together an invasion force of unprecedented scale. Infantry from Babylon, cavalry from Bactria, archers from Susa, the immortals, 10,000 elite warriors who have never tasted defeat, 150,000 fighting men. Baggage wagons stretch back to the horizon. The Hellespont crossing takes 7 days and 7 nights on bridges built from ships tied together. The march shakes the ground beneath their feet. Greece knows what is coming. The northern cities have already surrendered. Thrace has fallen. Macedonia has submitted without a fight. Now Xerxes marches south. Athens, birthplace of democracy, barely a generation old, stands exposed. Sparta guards the Peloponnese with a warrior tradition centuries deep. Between them lie broken city-states that have spent more time fighting each other than any foreign threat. Xerxes intends to sweep them into history. The Greek city-states gather at Corinth, 31 cities. They argue, they accuse. Athens wants to fight at sea. Sparta wants to defend the Peloponnese. The alliance holds together like wet paper. Then King Leonidas of Sparta speaks. He is 60 years old, a warrior since childhood, trained in the agoge, the brutal Spartan system that turns boys into weapons. His face bears the marks of 30 years in combat. The Persians will come through the north. There is only one place where terrain matters more than numbers. He unrolls a map. Thermopylae, the hot gates. The pass is barely 50 feet wide at its narrowest point. Cliffs on one side, the sea on the other. An army of 150,000 would be forced to attack in waves, their numbers meaningless in the tight space. Leonidas's plan is simple. Hold the pass. Delay the Persians long enough for the Greek fleet to engage, long enough for Greece to survive. The Eckers agree, but there is a problem. The Olympic Games are about to begin. Spartan law forbids warfare during sacred times. The ephors will not permit the full army to march. Leonidas makes his choice. I will take my personal guard, 300 men. We will hold until the rest of you can follow. 300 against 150,000. He returns to Sparta and issues a proclamation. He will select 300 warriors, but not the youngest, not the strongest, only men with living sons, only men whose bloodlines will continue if they fall, because King Leonidas of Sparta knows he is marching to his death. The 300 gather at dawn, veterans in their 30s and 40s, fathers, husbands, men who understand what sacrifice means. They wear red cloaks, bronze helmets that cover their faces until only their eyes remain. Hard eyes that had seen death and learned not to blink. Each carries an 8-foot spear, a short sword, and a shield emblazoned with the Greek lambda. They are the Spartiate elite, the warrior class that is trained every day since age 7 for exactly this kind of battle. One of them asks his young son to remember him not as a warrior, but as a father who loved him. Another carves his wife's name on the inside of his shield, a private prayer that only he will see. As they march north, other Greeks join them, 700 Thespians, 400 Thebans, 1,000 Phocians, 7,000 Greeks in total. Still hopelessly outnumbered, they reach Thermopylae in late August. The pass is exactly as Leonidas remembered. Hot springs steam along the cliffs. The air smells of sulfur and salt. The sea crashes against black rocks below. The Greeks rebuild an ancient wall in a single day, piling rocks and timber into a barrier that blocks the pass. They wait. At dawn, on the third day, the horizon darkens, not with storm clouds, with the dust of empire. The Persian army arrives in endless columns. Their camp stretches for miles, tens of thousands of cooking fires turning the night sky orange. The noise echoes off the cliffs. From the wall, the Greeks watch in silence. A young Spartan turns to Leonidas. "My king, their arrows will block out the sun." Leonidas smiles, a rare thing for a Spartan king. "Then we will fight in the shade." The words spread through the ranks like fire through dry grass. Nervous laughter becomes grim determination. That night, the Persians send a messenger with Xerxes' message: "Surrender your weapons. Kneel before the King of Kings. You will be spared." Leonidas listens without expression. The sea wind pulls at his red cloak. Then he speaks two words that will echo across 25 centuries: Molon Labe, come and take them. Xerxes gives the Greeks 4 days to break. They do not break. They train, they sharpen their weapons, they tell stories and write letters home that will never be sent. They prepare their hearts. On the morning of the 5th day, Xerxes loses patience. At dawn, he sends 10,000 men forward. The battle for Thermopylae begins. The Persians come at dawn with confidence and numbers, 10,000 soldiers, Medes and Scythians from the eastern provinces, light infantry with wicker shields and short spears. They advance across the plain shouting war cries that echo off the cliffs. The sound builds like a wave. The Greeks wait in perfect silence. Leonidas stands at the center of the line. His breathing is calm. His spear rests easy in his grip. He has done this before, but never like this. The Persian wave crashes against the wall and breaks. The pass is so narrow that only a dozen men can fight abreast. The Persian numbers mean nothing. They cannot flank. They cannot maneuver. They can only die. The Greek phalanx is a machine built for this warfare. 8 feet of spear reach, bronze shields overlapping like scales on a serpent's back, each man protecting the soldier to his left. The Persians try to climb the wall. Greek spears punch through wicker shields, through leather armor, through flesh and bone. Bodies pile at the base. The smell of blood mixes with sulfur from the springs. For an hour, they accomplish nothing. 1,000 men dead. Not a single Greek has fallen. Xerxes sends another wave, then another. By midday, 3 separate assaults have shattered. The Persians have lost thousands. The Greeks have lost dozens. The pass is turning into a graveyard. The sun beats down mercilessly. Men drink from water skins with shaking hands. The wounded are dragged behind the wall where Greek physicians work in silence. That afternoon, Xerxes commits his immortals. 10,000 warriors dressed in scale armor and silk robes, with spears with silver pomegranates, symbols of eternal life. They have never failed him. They march to the pass in perfect formation. No war cries, just the rhythm of 10,000 men moving as one. The Greeks brace. The immortals strike hard. They work together trying to create openings. But the Spartans are better. They have trained for this their entire lives. When one man's spear breaks, another steps forward. When the line buckles, reserves push from behind. And Leonidas fights like a god of war. His spear moves with mechanical precision. Thrust, withdraw, thrust. Every movement purposeful, every strike lethal. Around him, his 300 match his rhythm. The Spartans do not shout, do not waste breath for war cries. They do their work in silence. Combat at arm's length. Shields slam against shields. Spears shatter. Blood turns the ground to mud. By evening, the immortals withdraw, staggering, bleeding, beaten. They leave 2,000 dead in the pass. That night, the Greeks tend their wounded, perhaps 50 men lost. Leonidas walks among them, speaking to each warrior by name, because they are winning. Each hour the pass holds is another hour for the Greek fleet to maneuver. Every day of delay costs Xerxes the myth of Persian invincibility. Around campfires, the Spartans share wine and stories. One veteran tells the others about his farm, the olive trees he planted, the son who tends them now. They do not speak of death. They already know how this ends. Across the pass, Xerxes rages. Then a Greek traitor arrives. His name is Ephaltes, a local shepherd, hunchbacked, bitter, rejected by the Spartan army for his deformities. He comes with... The Greeks have posted the Phocian contingent to guard the mountain path, but when the Phocians hear the Persians coming in the darkness, they fall back rather than hold. At dawn, on the third day, a runner reaches Leonidas. "My king, the Persians have flanked us. We will be surrounded within hours." For a long moment, Leonidas stands silent. The sun is rising over the sea. The light catches his armor, turning it gold. He looks old in that light, tired. But his eyes are clear. He has known this moment was coming since he left Sparta. "Go, all of you, return to your cities, gather your armies, finish what we started here." The Thespians refuse to leave, 700 men who will not abandon the Spartans. "We came to fight beside Sparta, we will die beside Sparta." But the rest retreat south. 4,000 Greeks march away, many of them weeping. Leonidas and his 300 remain. Before the final assault, a Spartan warrior approaches Leonidas. He has 2 sons, both too young to fight. He asks his king to remember their names. Leonidas takes the man's hand. "I will tell them their father was the bravest of us all." Another scratches a message on the inside of his shield, his wife's name, his son's name, the word for honor. The king's voice carries across the pass. "Breakfast well, brothers. Tonight we dine in Hades." They eat their final meal in silence. They pray to their gods. They polish their armor until it gleams. They braid their hair in the Spartan fashion, long and oiled, as is proper for men going to their deaths. When the Persian horns sound, they are ready. The final assault begins with the rising sun. Xerxes commits everything, his entire army, from the north, the immortals descending from the mountain behind. But Leonidas does not wait to be crushed. He leads his Spartans out from behind the wall, out into the open pass. They advance in perfect formation, red cloaks streaming, bronze armor flashing, 300 men walking into the mouth of 150,000. The Persians hesitate. They have seen what Spartans can do, and now the Spartans are not defending, they are attacking. The world explodes into violence. The Greeks no longer fight to hold ground, they fight to kill. The phalanx drives into the Persian center. They carve through light infantry like a blade through cloth. Later, Greek historians would claim each Spartan held his ground against 50 men. Persian accounts would speak of demons in bronze who could not be killed. Both were exaggerations born of trauma and awe, but the truth was terrible enough. Xerxes sends in his best troops, his personal guard, cavalry that cannot maneuver, archers whose volleys darken the sky. The Greeks kill them all. Leonidas is everywhere. His spear becomes an extension of his will. He kills a Persian general, then another. His Spartans match his fury. They do not fight like men who are dying. They fight like men who are already dead and have nothing left to fear. For hours the battle rages. The sun climbs higher. The pass becomes a crucible of heat and blood. The Greeks are bleeding now, exhausted, but they do not yield. Then Leonidas falls. A Persian arrow finds the gap in his armor. He staggers. His Spartans see their king fall, and something breaks inside them, not fear, but rage. They form a circle around him, fighting with fury. The Persians cannot breach. 4 times the Persians drive forward. 4 times they are thrown back, leaving carpets of their dead. The battle over Leonidas's body becomes the most savage fighting of the entire war. Men fight with broken spears, with shields, with bare hands. Finally, the Spartans retrieve him. They pull back to a small hill, carrying their king's corpse. Fewer than 100 Spartans remain, perhaps 200 Thespians. The Greeks form a final circle on the hilltop. Their spears are shattered. They fight with swords. When the swords break, they fight with daggers. When the daggers are lost, they fight with their hands. The Persians do not close. They have learned to fear these men. Instead, they stand back and fire arrows, thousands of arrows. The sky darkens just as the young Spartan predicted. The Spartans raise their shields and die standing. They die in formation. They die as they lived, in formation, refusing to break. The last man falls as the sun begins to set. He dies with his hand reaching for his fallen king. He dies without surrender, without plea, without regret. By evening, it is over. Xerxes walks among the Greek dead. Every Spartan has died facing the enemy. Not one turned to run. He finds Leonidas's body. The king's face, even in death, shows no fear. Consumed by fury, Xerxes orders the king's head cut off and mounted on a pike. It is the only time in the entire campaign that the Persian king dishonors an enemy's corpse, because 300 men held his entire empire at bay for 3 days. Word travels fast through Greece, but the Greeks do not despair, they rage. Athens evacuates to Salamis. Sparta releases its full army. 5,000 Spartiates march north, too late to save their king, but in time to avenge him. The Greek alliance solidifies because Leonidas showed them what sacrifice looks like. The Persians march south. They burn Athens, but they are slower now, more cautious. The aura of Persian invincibility has shattered on the rocks of the Hot Gates. At Salamis, the Greek fleet lures the Persian navy into narrow straits. The same principle that worked at Thermopylae works on water. By sunset, 200 Persian ships are sinking. Xerxes watches from the shore. Without his fleet, he cannot feed his massive army on hostile ground. He returns to Persia, leaving his general Mardonius with 50,000 men. It is a fatal mistake. The following summer, 38,000 Greek hoplites face 50,000 Persians at Plataea. The Spartans fight with the memory of their king driving them forward. The Persians break. Mardonius is killed. The invasion is over. The West has survived. 3 days at Thermopylae changed everything. Without those 3 days, the Greek fleet would not have been in position. Salamis would never have been fought. Democracy would have died in its infancy. Western civilization pivoted on 3 days in a mountain pass, on the refusal of 300 men to accept the inevitable. In Sparta, the 300 become sacred. Their names are inscribed in stone. Their sacrifice becomes the defining moment of Spartan identity. The Persian Empire learns that it can be stopped. The aura of Persian inevitability dies with Leonidas. Centuries later, Alexander the Great stops at Thermopylae. He stands where Leonidas stood. He orders sacrifices made to the fallen. When Rome rises, Roman generals study Thermopylae. They understand that discipline and terrain can defeat superior numbers. The battle becomes legend across the Western world. Every time a small force refuses to yield against impossible odds, someone invokes Thermopylae. Because Leonidas and his 300 proved something beyond calculation, that free men fighting for their homes are worth 10 slaves fighting for a king's ambition. The Spartans never recovered their 300, but they accomplished what they set out to do. They gave Greece time to prepare. They showed the Greek world what unified resistance could achieve. They proved the Persians could bleed. In the end, the 300 saved not just Greece, but the very idea of Greece. The notion that free citizens could govern themselves, that a small group of committed individuals could change the course of history. Leonidas did not live to see Plataea, but his death made that victory possible. When the Greeks raised his memorial at Thermopylae, they built a simple stone marker. The inscription, written by the poet Simonides, is carved in letters that will outlast empires. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. The marker still stands, worn by wind and time. The mountains remain, the sea still crashes against black rocks, but the lesson endures. That 300 men and 3 days can alter the trajectory of human civilization. That courage and resolve can hold back empires when reason says they cannot. Thermopylae, the hot gates where Greece bled but did not break, where free men stood against tyranny and held the line, where Leonidas and his Spartans taught the world that some things are worth dying for, and that dying well, with honor, with purpose, with eyes fixed on something larger than yourself, is its own